"What is she doing here?" Veronica's voice dripped with venom. "This gold digger has no place at my father's will reading." Lena, the caregiver, shrank in her chair inside the luxurious law office as the entire family stared at her. "Security, remove her," Veronica ordered the attorney. The attorney, a serious-looking man, raised his hand. "Please, Mr. Sterling left very specific instructions," he said, picking up a sealed envelope. "He wanted this letter to be read first." "But before we find out what's in the letter, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel and let's dive into the full story. She has no right to be here." Veronica Sterling's voice cut through the quiet law office. That woman was just his caregiver, not family. Rain tapped against the tall windows of Dawson and Associates as Lena Johnson sat at the far end of the long mahogany table. Her hands trembled slightly in her lap, hidden beneath the table. The navy blue dress she had bought specially for this occasion suddenly felt too tight around her neck. Attorney Michael Bennett cleared his throat. "Ms. Sterling, please take your seat. Mr. Harold Sterling specifically requested Ms. Johnson's presence at this reading." Veronica glared at Lena before sliding into a chair across the table, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor. The other Sterling family members, cousins and distant relatives Lena had never met, filled the remaining seats, stealing glances at the out-of-place caregiver. "Thank you all for coming today," Michael said, straightening his tie. "We are gathered to read the last will and testament of Harold Sterling." Lena's mind drifted to her last chess game with Harold. It was just 3 weeks ago on a sunny afternoon in his sunroom. She could still picture his wrinkled hands moving the pieces across the board, his blue eyes twinkling when he captured her bishop. "Checkmate in 3 moves," he had said with a smile. "You're getting better, Lena, but still too cautious." For 8 years, Lena had cooked Harold's meals, managed his medications, and kept him company through long evenings. What began as a job became a friendship that brought warmth to both their lives. Michael's voice pulled her back to the present. "Before I begin reading the will, I want to confirm that everyone expected is present." He glanced up, his eyes meeting Lena's for a brief moment. Something flickered between them, a distant recognition that neither acknowledged. Lena shifted in her seat. 22 years had passed since she last saw Michael Bennett. He was thinner then, without the gray at his temples. Providence, Rhode Island, summer of 2001. A different lifetime. "Let's proceed," Michael said, opening a thick folder. He began reading legal language about Harold Sterling being of sound mind and body. Lena noticed Michael's expression changing as he turned the page, his professional composure briefly slipping. "I, Harold Sterling, hereby bequeath my entire estate, valued at $24 million, including all properties, investments, and business holdings, to Lena Johnson and her 3 daughters, Jasmine, Zoe, and Maya Johnson." The room went silent, then erupted. "This is absurd!" Veronica jumped to her feet, her face flushed red. "She manipulated him! My father would never do this." Michael raised his hand. "Please, there's more. I don't care what else that paper says. She's a gold digger who took advantage of a lonely old man." Veronica pointed a manicured finger at Lena. "Look at her sitting there, pretending to be shocked. This was her plan all along." Lena stared at the polished table, unable to process what was happening. $24 million? Harold's entire estate? This couldn't be right. "Ms. Sterling, please sit down," Michael insisted. "Your father also left a sealed letter with specific instructions that it be opened and read at this meeting." Michael broke the seal on an envelope and removed several pages. His eyes widened slightly as he scanned the contents. The letter reads, "To my family and friends gathered today. My decision to leave my estate to Lena Johnson and her daughters may come as a surprise, but it is made with full awareness and careful thought. For 8 years, Lena has shown me kindness, respect, and genuine friendship when many others only saw my wealth." Michael paused, taking a breath before continuing. There is another matter of importance that must be addressed today. Through private investigation, I discovered a connection that those involved may not be aware of. Enclosed with this letter are DNA test results confirming that Michael Bennett is the biological father of Lena's triplet daughters. The room gasped collectively. Lena felt the blood drain from her face as she gripped the edge of the table. Michael's professional mask slipped completely as he stared at the papers in disbelief. His eyes met Lena's across the table, wide with shock. "This is preposterous!" One of Harold's cousins stood up. "We need to contest this will immediately!" Veronica had gone eerily quiet, her eyes darting between Michael and Lena. "You two know each other," she said slowly. "This was all planned, wasn't it? A conspiracy to steal my inheritance." Lena found her voice at last. "No, I had no idea. Harold never said anything about this." Her mind raced back to that summer in Providence. She was 23, visiting her aunt while on break from community college. Michael was working before starting law school. 3 wonderful weeks together before he moved to New York. They had lost touch. No social media back then, just a phone number that changed when he moved. When Lena discovered she was pregnant, she had no way to find him. "I want our lawyers here now," Veronica hissed to one of the relatives who was already dialing on his phone. "We're contesting this immediately on grounds of undue influence." Michael seemed to recover his professional demeanor with effort. "You have every right to contest the will, but Mr. Sterling's wishes were clearly documented with multiple witnesses, including his doctor confirming his sound mental state." "You expect us to believe that?" Veronica laughed bitterly. "You're apparently the father of her children. You're both in on this scam." "I assure you, Ms. Sterling, I had no knowledge of this connection until this moment," Michael replied stiffly. 2 security guards appeared at the door, summoned by Michael's assistant who had heard the commotion. "This meeting is over for now," Michael announced. "Everyone will receive copies of the relevant documents. If you wish to contest the will, your attorneys can contact our office." The Sterling family filed out, Veronica pausing at the door to glare at Lena. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. Soon only Michael and Lena remained in the conference room. The rain outside had intensified, drumming against the windows. "Is it true?" Lena asked quietly. "Did Harold really leave everything to me?" Michael nodded, still looking stunned. "Yes. Everything is legally yours and your daughter's." Silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken questions. "Providence," Michael finally said. "Summer of 2001. Lena nodded. "I tried to find you when I found out I was pregnant. Your phone was disconnected. I moved to New York for law school." He ran a hand through his hair. "Triplets? Jasmine, Zoe, and Maya. They're 21 now." Michael sat down heavily in a chair. How did Harold know? Why would he keep this information to himself? Lena shook her head. Harold knew a lot of things. He was always 3 moves ahead, like in chess. She stared at the documents on the table, papers that had just changed her entire life. What happens now? Michael looked up, his expression a mix of confusion and determination. "The Sterlings will contest the will. It's going to get ugly, and we need to talk about our daughters." Lena gathered her purse, feeling overwhelmed. "I need to tell them first. They deserve to hear this from me." As she stood to leave, Michael touched her arm. "Lena, wait. We need to talk about why Harold kept this secret from both of us for years, and what else he might have been hiding. We need to figure out what Harold was really planning," Michael said, releasing Lena's arm. "This is bigger than just the will." Lena nodded, still trying to process everything. "I need to tell my daughters first. They're waiting to hear about the will reading." The elevator ride down from Dawson and Associates felt endless. Outside, rain soaked through Lena's thin jacket as she hurried to the subway station. Her mind raced the entire ride back to Dorchester. When she opened the door to their modest apartment, all 3 of her daughters looked up expectantly from the living room couch. "How did it go?" Maya asked, always the first to speak. She closed her laptop and adjusted her glasses. Lena set down her purse and took a deep breath. "I need you all to sit down. There's a lot to tell you." Jasmine turned off the television. "Mom, you look pale." "What happened?" "Mr. Sterling left us his money," Lena said, her voice barely above a whisper. Zoe frowned. "What do you mean, us? Why would he leave you anything?" "Not just some money," Lena continued, sitting down heavily. "Everything. His entire estate. $24 million. The houses, the businesses, all of it." The girls stared at her in shocked silence. "There's more," Lena said, looking at each of her daughters. "Harold knew something about your father. Something I never told him." Maya leaned forward. "Our father? What about him?" "The lawyer at the will reading today, Michael Bennett." Lena paused. "He's your biological father." The room exploded with reactions. Jasmine jumped up with a gasp. Zoe's face hardened into disbelief. Maya simply froze, processing the information. "That's not possible," Zoe said flatly. "You told us our father was someone you dated in college who moved away." "That's partially true," Lena explained. "I met Michael in Providence 22 years ago. We spent 3 weeks together before he moved to New York for law school. I had no way to contact him when I found out I was pregnant." "And Harold knew?" Maya asked. "How?" "I don't know," Lena admitted. "The DNA test results were included with the will." Jasmine sat back down. "So this lawyer guy is our dad, and now we're rich? This is crazy." Zoe stood up, arms crossed. "I don't believe any of this. That Sterling family is going to fight this, right? They're not just going to let you take their money." "It's not about taking anything," Lena said firmly. "I had no idea Harold was planning this." Maya's analytical mind was already working. "Mom, we need a lawyer." "Our own lawyer, not this Michael person." "He is our lawyer," Lena said. "Harold appointed him as the executor of the will." "He's a stranger to us," Zoe said bitterly. "Just because some DNA test says he's our father doesn't make him family." Jasmine was already on her phone. "Oh my God, Mom! You're in the news already!" She turned her screen to show a Boston Globe breaking news alert. "Sterling fortune left to caregiver. Family contests will." The next morning brought more headlines. Lena stared at the newspaper in horror. "Gold digger or legitimate heir? Sterling caregiver inherits millions." Her phone rang. It was Michael. "Have you seen the news?" he asked when she answered. "Yes," Lena said, keeping her voice low so her daughters wouldn't hear from the kitchen. "It's awful." "Veronica has hired Blackwell and Associates," Michael said. "They're the most aggressive firm in Massachusetts. They've filed emergency motions to freeze all the Sterling assets." "What does that mean?" "It means you can't access any of the inheritance until a judge reviews the case," Michael explained. "Lena, I need to tell you something. The partners at my firm want me to recuse myself from this case." "Because of the girls?" "Yes, they're concerned about conflicts of interest." He paused. "But I'm not going to. Harold chose me for a reason. Can we meet somewhere private to talk? There's a coffee shop in Cambridge that's usually quiet." Later that afternoon, Lena sat across from Michael at a small table in the back of the coffee shop. Seeing him in casual clothes instead of his suit made him seem more like the young man she remembered from Providence. "This is strange," Michael said after an awkward silence. 22 years, and suddenly we're connected again through all of this." "You look different," Lena said, "but also the same." "Tell me about them," Michael said. "Our daughters." Lena smiled despite herself. "Jasmine is the artistic one. Dance, music, theater, she loves it all. Zoe is tough, practical. She's studying to be a nurse. And Maya is our genius, always analyzing everything, always 3 steps ahead." "They sound amazing," Michael said. "Do you have pictures?" Lena showed him photos on her phone. Michael studied each one carefully. "Maya has my mother's eyes," he said quietly. I can't believe I didn't know about them all these years. I tried to find you, Lena insisted. Your number was disconnected. This was before social media and cell phones were everywhere. I know, Michael said. I believe you. They talked for nearly 2 hours, filling in the missing decades of their lives. Michael had been married and divorced. Lena had worked multiple caregiving jobs to support her daughters. Why would Harold do this? Lena asked. Bringing us all together like this? I don't know, Michael replied. But I intend to find out. When Lena returned to her apartment building, she found reporters waiting outside. They shouted questions as she pushed past them. Ms. Johnson, did you manipulate Harold Sterling? Was your relationship with Mr. Sterling romantic? Did you know you were in his will? Inside, Jasmine was waiting anxiously. Mom, they've been out there all day. This is scary. It'll be okay, Lena assured her, though she wasn't convinced herself. That evening, as they ate dinner, the phone rang. Lena answered it. Listen carefully, said an unfamiliar male voice. Walk away from the Sterling money or face the consequences. Gold diggers get what they deserve. The line went dead. Lena's hands shook as she put the phone down. Who was that? Maya asked, noticing her mother's expression. Wrong number, Lena lied. At midnight, the sound of shattering glass woke them all. Lena rushed to the living room to find a brick on the floor surrounded by broken window glass. Attached to the brick was a note that read, Gold diggers get what they deserve. As Lena called the police, her phone buzzed with an incoming call from an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Hello? Miss Johnson? This is Eleanor Parker, Harold's sister, said an elderly woman's voice. I think it's time you had an ally in this fight. Miss Parker? Lena said, holding the phone tightly while police officers examined the broken window. How did you get this number? Harold gave it to me months ago, Eleanor replied. He told me you might need my help someday. We need to meet. The Boston Public Garden tomorrow morning at 10. The bench near the swan boats. The next morning, Lena walked nervously through the public garden. The spring flowers were blooming, but she barely noticed them. She spotted an elegant older woman sitting alone on a bench, feeding birds from a small paper bag. Miss Parker? Lena approached cautiously. The woman looked up, her silver hair perfectly styled. Please, call me Eleanor. She patted the space beside her. Sit down, dear. We have much to discuss. Lena sat, keeping a slight distance. Why did you call me? Because Harold told me everything. Eleanor reached into her handbag and pulled out an envelope. 6 months ago, Harold shared his plans with me. He knew his family would fight, especially Veronica. She handed Lena the envelope. Inside were photos of Harold with Eleanor, some dating back decades. My brother was very clear about his wishes, Eleanor continued. He wanted you and your daughters to have his estate. He said you showed him more kindness in 8 years than Veronica had in her entire life. Did he tell you about Michael Bennett? About my daughters? Eleanor nodded. Harold discovered the connection by accident. He overheard you talking about your daughter's father once. Something clicked, and he hired investigators. Why didn't he tell us? Harold believed some truths needed the right moment. Eleanor looked directly at Lena. Now, about your safety. That brick through your window won't be the last attempt to scare you. You need to move to a secure location. I can't afford… You can now, Eleanor interrupted. The judge must have received my brother's letter by now. The temporary freeze on your assets should be lifted by afternoon. Eleanor was right. By 3 o'clock that day, Michael called with the news. The judge reviewed Harold's documented wishes and medical records, he explained. The assets aren't completely released, but you have access to funds for living expenses while the case proceeds. How much? Lena asked. $50,000 for immediate use, Michael replied. The judge was concerned about the threats against you. That evening, with Eleanor's help, Lena and her daughters checked into 2 connecting rooms at the Four Seasons Hotel in downtown Boston. The marble lobby and uniformed staff made Lena feel completely out of place. "Mom, this is crazy," Zoe whispered as they followed the bellhop to their rooms. "We don't belong here." "It's just temporary," Lena assured her, "for safety." Jasmine, however, was already taking photos of everything. "The bathtub is bigger than our kitchen." Maya remained quiet, observing it all with cautious eyes. The next morning, Michael arrived at the hotel for a meeting. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. "I've taken a leave of absence from Dawson and Associates," he announced once they were seated in the hotel's private meeting room. "Why?" Lena asked. "The senior partners didn't support me representing you. They have business connections with the Sterling family." He straightened some papers on the table. "I believe Harold chose me as executor for a reason. I need to see this through." "So you quit your job for us?" Maya asked skeptically. "A leave of absence," Michael corrected. "Besides, I have other reasons." He glanced at the three young women. "I've missed 21 years with you. I don't want to miss more." Zoe stood up. "I need some air." She walked out of the room. "Give her time," Lena said quietly. "We have our first court hearing tomorrow," Michael continued. "Veronica's lawyers are arguing that Harold wasn't mentally competent when he changed his will." "That's not true," Lena exclaimed. "Harold was sharp until the end. We played chess the day before he died, and he beat me in 12 moves." "I have his medical records," Michael assured her. "His doctors will testify to his mental clarity." The next day in court, Veronica sat with her legal team from Blackwell and Associates. She wore all black like a widow in mourning. When Lena entered with Michael, Veronica's eyes narrowed with hatred. The lead attorney from Blackwell stood. "Your Honor, we have substantial evidence that Harold Sterling was not of sound mind when he made these dramatic changes to his will. Mr. Sterling was 87 years old and taking multiple medications. He was vulnerable to manipulation from his caregiver." Michael responded calmly. "Your Honor, we have comprehensive medical evaluations conducted 2 weeks before Mr. Sterling updated his will. 3 separate doctors confirmed he was mentally competent and making informed decisions." After hearing both sides, the judge spoke. "While I'll allow this case to proceed to full hearing, I see no immediate evidence of mental incapacity. The temporary freeze on major assets will continue, but Ms. Johnson and her daughters shall have access to funds for living expenses and legal fees." Veronica stormed out of the courtroom without looking back. That afternoon, Michael invited all 3 daughters to lunch. Only Jasmine accepted. "I'd like to get to know you," Michael said as they sat at a table in Faneuil Hall Marketplace. "What kind of music do you like?" Jasmine smiled for the first time. "Everything. Classical, jazz, hip-hop. I dance, so music is my life." "My mother was a pianist," Michael said. "I grew up with music in the house." "Really?" Jasmine leaned forward. "Do you play?" "Badly," Michael admitted. "But I love listening." As they talked, they discovered shared interests in books and films, too. By the end of lunch, Jasmine was showing Michael videos of her dance performances. Back at the hotel, Lena found Maya studying on her laptop. "What are you working on?" Lena asked. "Inheritance law," Maya replied. "I found some cases similar to ours. Most contested wills take months or years to resolve." Lena's phone rang. It was the 5th call that day from someone connected to Harold's businesses. "Miss Johnson, this is Patricia from Sterling Properties. We have 3 contracts pending Mr. Sterling's signature. The clients are getting anxious." "I don't know anything about real estate," Lena said helplessly. "Let me help with that," said Eleanor, who had just arrived. "Harold's business interests are complex but not impossible to understand." Later that afternoon, a well-dressed man in his 60s arrived at the hotel. "Thomas Reynolds," he introduced himself with a firm handshake. "I was Harold's business partner for 30 years." "Mr. Reynolds," Lena greeted him cautiously. "Please sit down." "Call me Thomas," he insisted. "I wanted to meet the woman Harold thought so highly of." His smile seemed genuine, but his eyes were calculating. "I can help you understand the Sterling business portfolio. It's quite extensive." "That's kind of you," Lena said. "How are you planning to handle the Brookline development?" Thomas asked casually. "The contractors are waiting for final approval." "I'm still learning about all the projects," Lena replied vaguely. After an hour of questions thinly disguised as helpful conversation, Thomas left. He walked straight to his car and made a phone call. "Veronica, it's Thomas. I've met with her." He started the engine. "She doesn't know anything about the businesses. This will be easier than we thought." At the hotel, Eleanor was teaching Lena about Harold's various holdings when Maya approached with her laptop. "Mom, look at this," she said, pointing to the screen. "I found a file in the Sterling business documents. It's marked Confidential vs. Financial Irregularities." Lena and Eleanor leaned in to see what appeared to be evidence that Veronica had been embezzling from her father's companies for years. "Embezzlement?" Lena stared at the screen. "Are these numbers real?" Maya scrolled through the document. "It looks like Veronica took over $3 million from various Sterling companies over 5 years." Eleanor nodded slowly. "Harold mentioned financial concerns about Veronica, but I had no idea it was this serious." "We need to show this to Michael right away," Lena said, reaching for her phone. The next morning, Michael reviewed the files in a private meeting room at the hotel. His face grew increasingly serious as he examined page after page of financial records. "This is definitely embezzlement," he confirmed, pointing to several transfers. Veronica created fake vendors and consultants, then directed company funds to accounts she controlled. "Why didn't Harold report her to the police?" Lena asked. Michael shook his head. "I don't know. This evidence is solid. He could have had her arrested." "Maybe he didn't want to send his daughter to jail," Maya suggested. "Or maybe he was using it as leverage for something else," Michael said. "We could use this to negotiate a settlement with Veronica." Lena frowned. "I don't want to blackmail her." "It's not blackmail if it's evidence of an actual crime," Michael replied. "But I understand your hesitation. Let's hold on to this for now until we understand more about why Harold kept it secret." 2 days later, the judge granted Lena temporary access to the Sterling properties. She decided to visit the main mansion in Beacon Hill for the first time. "This place is huge," Jasmine whispered as they walked up the steps to the imposing brownstone. The 4-story home was one of the largest on the street, with gleaming windows and perfect landscaping. Michael rang the doorbell. A thin, gray-haired woman in a black dress opened the door. "Ms. Johnson," she said stiffly. "I'm Mrs. Patterson, the housekeeper. Mr. Bennett called to say you would be coming." She led them into a grand foyer with a crystal chandelier and marble floor. Lena felt completely out of place as she followed Mrs. Patterson through rooms filled with antiques and artwork. "This is the main living room. The formal dining room seats 20. Mrs. Patterson listed mechanically. "The kitchen was renovated 3 years ago." Maya noticed the housekeeper's cold tone. "You worked for Mr. Sterling for a long time?" 27 years, Mrs. Patterson replied. "I knew him better than anyone." The implied criticism wasn't lost on Lena. "Mr. Sterling spoke highly of you, Mrs. Patterson." The housekeeper's expression didn't soften. "The master bedroom is upstairs along with 5 guest rooms. Mr. Sterling's office remains sealed." "Sealed?" Michael asked. "Police tape," Mrs. Patterson explained. "There was a break-in shortly before Mr. Sterling passed away. The police investigated but found nothing missing." They continued upstairs, where a door at the end of the hallway was indeed sealed with yellow police tape. "When exactly was this break-in?" Michael asked. 3 days before Mr. Sterling died," Mrs. Patterson said. "He was at a doctor's appointment. When we returned, his office had been ransacked. The police came, but Mr. Sterling insisted nothing important was taken." After the tour, Mrs. Patterson retreated to the kitchen, leaving the group in the living room. "She doesn't like us being here," Zoe said. "She was loyal to Veronica," Eleanor explained. "Most of the staff are." Lena's phone buzzed with a news alert. She opened it and gasped. Oh no! It was a Boston Globe article featuring a tearful interview with Veronica Sterling. The headline read, "Grieving daughter fights for father's legacy against gold-digging caregiver." Lena read aloud, "She took advantage of my father when he was vulnerable," Veronica Sterling told reporters. "This woman has a history of targeting wealthy elderly men. She was arrested in 2005 for theft from a previous employer." "That's a lie!" Maya exclaimed. "Mom has never been arrested." Lena kept reading. Johnson, who grew up in a troubled neighborhood in Philadelphia, has a misdemeanor record from her youth and has struggled financially, raising 3 daughters without their father's support. "How did they find out about that shoplifting charge?" Lena whispered. "I was 16. Michael took the phone. "They're digging into your past. This is what Blackwell does, character assassination. They're making Mom sound like a criminal," Jasmine said angrily. "We need to respond," Michael said. "I'll contact some journalists I know." "No," Lena said firmly. "Responding just keeps the story going. Let's focus on the legal case." Later that afternoon, Jasmine met Michael for coffee near the hotel. "I brought these," she said, sliding a photo album across the table. "Pictures of us growing up." Michael opened it carefully. The first photo showed Lena in a hospital bed holding 3 tiny babies. "You were so small," he said softly. "Mom said I weighed 4 pounds, Jasmine replied. Maya was the biggest at 5 pounds. They spent an hour going through the album, birthdays, school plays, dance recitals, all the moments Michael had missed. "Your mother did an amazing job raising you 3, he said. "It wasn't easy for her," Jasmine admitted. "She worked 2 jobs most of the time." From across the street, Zoe watched them through the cafe window. She had followed Jasmine but couldn't bring herself to go inside. She turned and walked away before they could spot her. Meanwhile, Maya sat in a coffee shop near Harvard Square, researching inheritance law on her laptop. She didn't notice someone watching her until he approached her table. "Excuse me," said Thomas Reynolds with a friendly smile. "You're Maya Johnson, aren't you? I thought I recognized you from our meeting." "Mr. Reynolds," Maya said cautiously. "Yes, that's me. Please, call me Thomas." He gestured to the empty chair. "May I join you?" Maya nodded reluctantly. "Studying hard, I see," he commented, glancing at her screen. "You have an interest in business law?" "Just trying to understand our situation," Maya replied vaguely. "Smart girl," Thomas said. "Your mother mentioned you're the analytical one. You know, I've been thinking about your future. A bright young woman like you could have a great career in real estate development. The Sterling companies could use fresh talent. I'm focusing on law, actually." "Even better," Thomas said smoothly. "Every business needs good legal minds. Tell me, has your mother decided what to do with the Brookline development? That project was very important to Harold." Maya recognized the fishing attempt. "I think she's still reviewing all the options with her advisors." Thomas nodded, hiding his disappointment. "Well, if you ever want to learn about the business, I'd be happy to mentor you. Harold would have wanted that." After an hour of careful conversation, Thomas left. Maya immediately texted her mother. "Reynolds tried to get info from me. Be careful with him." That evening, Detective Wilson from the Boston Police Department met Lena at the Sterling mansion. "We've completed our investigation of the break-in," he explained. "Since nothing was reported stolen, we're closing the case. You can remove the tape and access the office now." After the detective left, Lena slowly opened the door to Harold's private office. The large room had floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive wooden desk, and a sitting area with leather chairs. Near the window was a small table with a chess set. Lena approached it slowly. The pieces were positioned exactly as they had been during her last game with Harold. She remembered every move of that final match. "You were winning," she whispered, touching the white queen. As she studied the board, something caught her eye. The black king piece seemed slightly raised. Lena picked it up and found a small brass key hidden underneath. Her phone buzzed with an incoming text from an unknown number. Check the safe behind the Monet in the upstairs study. H left more than money for you." Lena stared at her phone. Who knew about a safe behind a painting? She called Eleanor immediately. "Eleanor, can you come to the mansion? I found something strange." 30 minutes later, Eleanor arrived. Lena showed her the key and the text message. "Who sent this?" Eleanor asked, examining the phone. "I don't know," Lena said. "The number isn't saved in my contacts." "There is indeed a Monet in the upstairs study," Eleanor confirmed. "Harold collected Impressionist paintings." They walked upstairs to a smaller room lined with bookshelves and a large desk. On the far wall hung a colorful painting of water lilies. "This is it," Eleanor said, carefully lifting the frame away from the wall. Behind it was a small wall safe. Lena inserted the brass key. It fit perfectly. When she turned it, the safe door clicked open. Inside were 2 items, a leather-bound journal and a small USB drive. "Harold's private journal," Eleanor whispered. "He wrote in it every day for decades." Lena carefully opened the journal to the most recent entries. She began reading aloud. "January 15th. Confirmed today what I've suspected for months. Veronica has been systematically embezzling from the Brookline Development Fund. Nearly $3 million diverted through fake consulting companies. My own daughter stealing from me. The betrayal cuts deep." Eleanor gasped. He knew about the embezzlement. Lena continued reading. "February 3rd. I've decided not to confront Veronica about the money. There are larger concerns now. My health is declining faster than the doctors realize. I need to secure my legacy properly." She turned the page. "February 10th. Watched Lena with her daughters today when they visited. Remarkable young women. I've known for 2 years that Michael Bennett is their father. Overheard Lena talking to an old photo once while cleaning. The girls have your eyes, Michael. Hired investigators, confirmed it. That's why I specifically requested Bennett as my attorney 3 years ago. Some connections are meant to be restored." Lena looked up in shock. "Harold knew? He hired Michael on purpose?" "My brother was always 3 steps ahead of everyone," Eleanor said. "What else does it say?" Lena read more entries, each revealing Harold's elaborate plan to bring Michael back into her life and to leave his fortune to her family instead of Veronica. "We should see what's on the USB drive," Eleanor suggested. They went to Harold's computer and inserted the drive. A video file appeared on screen. They clicked play, and Harold's face filled the monitor. He looked tired but determined, sitting in the very office they were in now. "If you're watching this," Harold began, "then I'm gone, and you've found my key." "Hello, Lena. I imagine you have questions." Lena pressed her hand to her mouth, emotional at seeing Harold again. "First, let me be clear. Everything I've left to you and your daughters I've left willingly and with sound mind. The journal explains most of my reasoning, but there's one thing I couldn't write down. Something I've kept secret for almost 40 years. Harold took a deep breath. "Veronica is not my biological daughter." Both women gasped. "Margaret was pregnant when we married," Harold continued. "I agreed to raise the child as my own. We never told Veronica the truth. I loved her as my daughter, but as she grew older, the distance between us grew. When I discovered her embezzlement, I was hurt, but not entirely surprised. My guilt over knowing she wasn't truly mine probably made me too lenient with her throughout her life." The video continued with Harold explaining more details about his decision to leave everything to Lena and her daughters. "I should call Michael," Lena said when the video ended. "He needs to see this." An hour later, Michael arrived at the mansion. They watched the video together in stunned silence. "This explains why he never reported the embezzlement," Michael said. "He felt guilty about knowing she wasn't his biological child." "What do we do with this information?" Lena asked. "It feels wrong to expose Veronica's parentage just to win the case." "I agree," Michael said. "We should hold this back unless absolutely necessary. The embezzlement evidence might be enough." They sat close together on the office couch, reviewing the journal entries. Their shoulders touched, and neither moved away. When Lena looked up, Michael was watching her face. For a moment, they leaned toward each other. Lena's phone rang suddenly. It was Maya. "Mom? Where are you? We've been trying to reach you for hours." "I'm at the mansion with Michael and Eleanor," Lena explained quickly. "We found some important documents." "Well, we have a problem," Maya said. "Veronica's lawyers just announced they have a former Sterling employee who claims he saw you manipulating Harold into changing his will." The next day in court, Veronica sat with her legal team looking confident. Her star witness, James Peterson, a former butler at the Sterling mansion, took the stand. "Mr. Peterson," Veronica's lawyer began, "can you tell the court what you observed between Ms. Johnson and Mr. Sterling?" "Yes," Peterson said seriously. "I saw Miss Johnson repeatedly pressure Mr. Sterling about his will. Once I overheard her say, 'Remember to take care of me and my girls, Harold.' She would give him his medication and then immediately bring up money matters when he was groggy." Murmurs spread through the courtroom. Lena shook her head vigorously. When it was Michael's turn for cross-examination, he approached calmly. "Mr. Peterson, when did you work for the Sterling household?" "From 2010 until 2019, Peterson answered. "Interesting," Michael said. "And when did you last see Mr. Sterling?" "December 2019, before I moved to Florida." Michael nodded. "So you weren't present during the last 3 years of Mr. Sterling's life, including when he changed his will?" Peterson shifted uncomfortably. "Well, no, but—" "In fact," Michael continued, "you weren't present for any of the events you just described, were you?" "I heard things from other staff," Michael interrupted. "Please answer the question directly. Did you personally witness Ms. Johnson pressuring Mr. Sterling about his will?" "No," Peterson admitted quietly. "One more question," Michael said. "Did Veronica Sterling pay you to testify today?" Peterson's face reddened. She helped me with some financial difficulties." The judge frowned deeply. "Counselor, your witness appears to have committed perjury. I suggest you speak with your client about the seriousness of witness tampering." Veronica's lawyer quickly requested a recess. That evening, back at the Sterling mansion, Maya was reviewing security footage from the cameras outside Harold's office. "Mom!" she called suddenly. "Look at this!" The footage showed someone entering Harold's office 3 days before his death, during the reported break-in. The figure moved quickly, but the face was briefly visible. "Is that Thomas Reynolds?" Lena asked, leaning closer to the screen. "I think so," Maya said. "And look at the timestamp, exactly when Mrs. Patterson said the break-in occurred." They called Michael, who arrived 30 minutes later with takeout dinner. "We need to confront Reynolds," Michael said after seeing the footage. "He's clearly involved in whatever Veronica is doing." "I'll call him," Lena decided. "Ask him to come here tomorrow to discuss the Brookline development." The next morning, Thomas Reynolds arrived at the mansion looking confident. His expression changed when he saw Michael and Lena waiting together in the living room. "What's this about?" he asked warily. Lena went straight to the point. "We have security footage of you breaking into Harold's office 3 days before he died. Want to explain that?" Reynolds paled but quickly recovered. "That's ridiculous. I had a key to his office. Harold and I were partners." "Then why did Mrs. Patterson report it as a break-in?" Michael asked. "She's confused. I was looking for some paperwork Harold needed." "At night? When everyone was out?" Maya challenged from the doorway. Reynolds stood up. "I don't have to explain myself to you people. This meeting is over." After he left, they gathered in the kitchen. "He's definitely hiding something," Michael said. Suddenly, they heard a crash from the living room. They rushed in to find Eleanor collapsed on the floor. "Call an ambulance!" Lena shouted, kneeling beside the older woman. At Massachusetts General Hospital, they waited anxiously outside the examination room. The doctor eventually emerged. "It was a minor heart attack," he explained. Ms. Parker will need to rest, but she should recover fully." Later, when they were allowed to visit, Eleanor looked pale against the white hospital sheets. "I'm sorry for the scare," she said weakly. "Don't apologize," Lena said, taking her hand. "Just focus on getting better." Eleanor squeezed Lena's hand. "There's something I need to tell you. Harold told me everything before he died, including that Veronica threatened him when he confronted her about the embezzlement." "Threatened him how?" Michael asked. "She told him she would destroy his reputation if he reported her," Eleanor said. "Said she had evidence he had done illegal things in his early business days. It wasn't true, but Harold worried about his legacy being tarnished." Lena and Michael exchanged glances. The pieces were finally coming together. "Get some rest," Lena told Eleanor gently. "We'll handle things from here." Outside the hospital room, Michael's phone buzzed with a text from his contact at the courthouse. "The judge just scheduled an emergency hearing for tomorrow," he told Lena. "Veronica's attorneys claim they have a new witness who can prove Harold was being drugged during his final months." "Drugged?" Lena gasped. "That's impossible. I gave Harold exactly what his doctors prescribed." "It's a desperate move," Michael said, guiding Lena toward the hospital exit. "They're throwing anything at the wall now." When they reached Michael's car, Lena's phone buzzed with a security alert from the Sterling mansion. She opened the app to see the security camera feed. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Veronica is outside the house." The video showed Veronica stumbling up the front walk, clearly intoxicated. Something dark was clutched in her right hand. "Is that a gun?" Michael asked, starting the car. "Call the police." "Now." Lena dialed 911 while Michael drove quickly toward Beacon Hill. By the time they arrived, police cars surrounded the mansion. An officer escorted a handcuffed Veronica toward a patrol car. "The gun wasn't loaded," the officer told Lena when she identified herself, "but she's being charged with trespassing and violating the property order." Veronica spotted Lena and screamed across the lawn. "This is my house. You stole everything from me, everything!" The next morning, Veronica's arrest was front-page news. Michael arrived at the hotel suite where Lena and her daughters were staying, carrying a newspaper. "This might actually help us," he said, laying the paper on the table. "The judge will see how unstable Veronica is becoming." What about tomorrow's hearing?" Lena asked. "The drugging accusation?" "I've requested all of Harold's medical records and pharmacy logs," Michael replied. "If someone was altering his medication, we'll find evidence." "Who's their witness?" Maya asked. "Dr. James Wilson," Michael said, "Harold's former physician." Jasmine frowned. "Wouldn't his doctor know if Harold was being drugged?" "Unless the doctor was involved," Michael suggested. Later that day, Michael called a meeting with Lena and her legal team. "This is the perfect time to request a settlement conference," he explained. "Veronica's public image is damaged after the gun incident. Her lawyers might advise her to negotiate now." "Do we use the evidence about her not being Harold's biological daughter?" one of the lawyers asked. Lena shook her head firmly. "No, that would just hurt her unnecessarily. We use the embezzlement evidence first." The judge granted their request for a settlement conference the following week. Both legal teams gathered in the judge's chambers, with Lena and Veronica sitting at opposite ends of the table. "Before we begin," Judge Martinez said, "I want to remind everyone that settlement conferences are about finding compromise. Ms. Sterling, your gun incident doesn't help your case. Ms. Johnson questioning the deceased's medical care is a serious allegation that needs substantial proof." Veronica's lead attorney spoke first. "My client is willing to offer Ms. Johnson a one-time payment of $1 million to relinquish all claims to the Sterling estate." Michael smiled politely. "That's not even close to acceptable. We're not here to negotiate the validity of Mr. Sterling's will. It stands as written." "A will created under duress or manipulation is invalid," Veronica's attorney countered. "We agree," Michael said calmly. He opened a folder and slid documents across the table. That's why we've brought these financial records showing Ms. Sterling embezzled nearly $3 million from Sterling companies over 5 years. The room went silent. Veronica's face drained of color. "My client disputes these allegations," her lawyer said after quickly scanning the papers. "The records are very clear," Michael continued. "Harold Sterling discovered the embezzlement and documented it thoroughly. We have bank records, fake vendor invoices, and transfers to offshore accounts." Veronica suddenly stood up, her chair scraping loudly. "You had no right to go through his private files. He promised he would never tell anyone." Her lawyer tried to quiet her, but Veronica was beyond restraint. "You turned my father against me," she shouted at Lena. "You wormed your way into his life and poisoned him against his own daughter." "Ms. Sterling, control yourself," Judge Martinez warned. "She wasn't even special to him," Veronica continued, pointing at Lena. "She was just another charity case. He collected them, you know. Pathetic people he could save." "That's enough," the judge said sharply. "We'll take a 30-minute recess." During the break, Veronica's attorney pulled her into a side room. "These embezzlement allegations are serious," he said gravely. "If they pursue criminal charges, you could face jail time." "They're bluffing," Veronica insisted, though her hands shook. "There's no proof." "I'm looking at the proof right now," he replied, holding the documents. "We should consider a settlement." "No!" Veronica grabbed her purse. "I'm not giving that woman my father's money. Find a way to fight this, or I'll find another law firm." She stormed out of the courthouse, ignoring reporters who shouted questions about her arrest. Meanwhile, Jasmine met with the director of a community arts center in Roxbury. The brick building had high ceilings and good natural light, but needed repairs. "This space has potential," the director said, "but renovation costs are high. We've been trying to raise funds for years." Jasmine walked around the empty room, imagining it filled with dance students. "What if I could help fund the renovations? Create a studio space here?" "You're serious?" the director asked, surprised. "Very," Jasmine replied. "I want to open a performing arts studio for kids who can't afford lessons. This neighborhood needs it." Across town, Zoe sat in the financial aid office at Boston University, staring at her acceptance letter to the nursing program. "Even with scholarships, there's still a $17,000 gap," the counselor explained. Zoe sighed. "I'll need to take out more loans." That evening, she reluctantly approached Lena in their hotel suite. "Mom," she began hesitantly, "about nursing school." "You got in," Lena smiled. "I knew you would." "Yeah, but the cost is something we can handle now," Lena said gently. "Let me pay your tuition, Zoe. Please, it's not about the money. It's about not having to work 3 jobs while studying like I did." After a long silence, Zoe nodded. "Okay, but just tuition. I'll handle everything else myself." At the Sterling offices downtown, Maya sat across from Thomas Reynolds, who looked uncomfortable under her steady gaze. "Thank you for meeting me, Mr. Reynolds," Maya said, placing her phone on the desk between them. "I wanted to discuss some inconsistencies I found in the Sterling Company records." "What inconsistencies?" he asked cautiously. Maya opened a folder. "These invoices for consulting services. The companies don't exist. The money went to shell corporations that trace back to Veronica Sterling's personal accounts." Reynolds loosened his tie. "I'm not sure what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything," Maya said. "I'm stating facts. These transactions required 2 signatures, Veronica's and yours." Reynolds stood up abruptly. "This meeting is over." "Before you call Veronica," Maya said calmly, "you should know I've already shared these documents with the district attorney's office." Reynolds paled. He grabbed his cell phone and dialed Veronica while walking to the window, lowering his voice. "It's me." "We have a problem. They found the financial records. They know about the fake companies." He listened for a moment. "No, denying it won't work. They have everything, Veronica. Bank transfers, signatures, everything." What Reynolds didn't notice was that Maya had started recording on her phone the moment he began speaking. Back at the Sterling mansion, Lena was reviewing documents in Harold's office when she heard a noise. She found Mrs. Patterson searching through drawers in Harold's study. "What are you doing?" Lena asked from the doorway. Mrs. Patterson jumped. "I was cleaning." "The drawers were already clean," Lena said. "You're looking for something." After a tense silence, Mrs. Patterson's shoulders sagged. "Ms. Sterling asked me to find any papers related to the will." "You've been reporting to her all along," Lena realized. "I've worked for the Sterling family for 27 years, Mrs. Patterson said defensively. "My loyalty is to them." "Harold was a Sterling too," Lena reminded her. "Did you respect his wishes?" The housekeeper looked away. "Mr. Sterling wasn't himself toward the end." "That's not true," Lena said firmly. "You know it isn't." Mrs. Patterson sat down heavily on a chair. "I knew him better than his own daughter did." Veronica rarely visited unless she needed money. "Did you know she was stealing from him?" Lena asked. "Everyone knew," Mrs. Patterson admitted. "Mr. Sterling confronted her about it once. I overheard them arguing." "What happened?" "She threatened him," Mrs. Patterson said quietly. "Said she would tell people he had mistreated her as a child if he didn't keep quiet. It wasn't true, but Mr. Sterling was terrified of scandal." Lena's phone rang. It was Michael. "The judge just called," he said urgently. "Dr. Wilson is ready to testify tomorrow that Harold's medication levels were inconsistent with his prescriptions. We need to prepare." Lena gripped her phone tightly. "Dr. Wilson claims Harold's medication was wrong? That's impossible. I followed his prescription exactly." "I need to see those medical records right away," Michael said. "Meet me at my office in 1 hour." At Michael's temporary office downtown, charts and medical files covered every surface. Dr. Sarah Patel, a medical expert Michael had hired, examined Harold's prescription history. "These are the medication logs from the past 5 years," Michael explained to Lena. "If someone was tampering with Harold's medication, we'll find proof." Dr. Patel frowned at the paperwork. "There are inconsistencies here, but they're subtle. Blood tests show varying levels of his heart medication. I gave him exactly what was prescribed," Lena insisted. "I kept detailed logs of every pill." "Look at the dates," Dr. Patel said suddenly. "The irregular pattern started in January 2019. "That's over a year before I began working for Harold," Lena realized. Michael looked up. "Who was his caregiver then?" "He didn't have one," Lena replied. "Veronica hired a service that sent different nurses each day. They worked through the night, examining years of medical records. Around 3 in the morning, Maya called with news. 'Mom, I found something about Dr. Wilson. He lost his medical license in Connecticut 5 years ago for gambling debts and prescription fraud. He got it reinstated in Massachusetts 2 years later.'" "Gambling debts?" Michael repeated. "Check his bank records if you can." By morning, they had built their defense. When they arrived at court, Veronica sat confidently beside her legal team. Dr. Wilson, a thin man in his 60s, avoided eye contact with Lena. Judge Martinez addressed the courtroom. "Today we're hearing testimony regarding allegations that Harold Sterling was improperly medicated during the period when he made changes to his will." Veronica's attorney called Dr. Wilson to the stand. "Dr. Wilson, you were Mr. Sterling's physician for how long?" 7 years, until his death," Wilson replied. "And did you notice anything unusual about his medication levels during his final year?" "Yes," Wilson said. "His blood tests showed inconsistent levels of his heart medication. Sometimes too high, sometimes too low. This would cause confusion, mood swings, and could impair his judgment." Veronica's attorney looked directly at Lena. "And who administered Mr. Sterling's medication during this time?" "Ms. Johnson was his caregiver," Wilson answered. The attorney nodded solemnly. "No further questions." Michael approached for cross-examination. "Dr. Wilson, you testified that these medication inconsistencies occurred during Mr. Sterling's final year, correct? Yes, that's right. Michael handed him a stack of lab reports. Could you read the dates of these blood tests showing the first irregular medication levels? Wilson squinted at the papers. January 23, 2019. And when did Ms. Johnson begin working as Mr. Sterling's caregiver? Wilson shifted uncomfortably. I believe it was March 2020. 14 months later, Michael emphasized. So these irregularities began well before Ms. Johnson ever administered a single pill to Mr. Sterling, correct? Yes, that appears to be the case. Michael changed direction. Dr. Wilson, have you ever had problems with your medical license? Objection. Veronica's attorney stood. Relevance? I'm establishing the witness's credibility, Michael responded. I'll allow it, Judge Martinez ruled. Please answer the question, Dr. Wilson. Wilson cleared his throat. There was a brief suspension in Connecticut. For gambling debts and prescription fraud, correct? Michael pressed. Yes, Wilson admitted quietly. Michael produced bank statements. Your Honor, we've discovered large cash deposits to Dr. Wilson's account over the past 2 years. 9 payments of $10,000 each, all from untraceable sources. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Dr. Wilson, Michael continued, did someone pay you to falsify records about Mr. Sterling's medication? Absolutely not, Wilson insisted, but his face had grown pale. Michael played the recording Maya had made of Thomas Reynolds. The court listened as Reynolds clearly stated, They know everything, Veronica, making sure the old man's doctor was taken care of. Wilson's composure crumbled. I didn't want to do it, he blurted out, but I still had debts. Veronica said no one would get hurt. Judge Martinez's face darkened with anger. Doctor? Wilson, you're admitting to falsifying medical records? Veronica asked me to make it look like Harold's medication was inconsistent, Wilson confessed. She said it would help her case. The judge turned to the district attorney present in the courtroom. I'm referring this matter for criminal investigation. Dr. Wilson and Miss Sterling may have committed several felonies here. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed around both legal teams. Veronica pushed through the crowd, ignoring questions about witness tampering and falsified medical records. As Lena was about to enter Michael's car, Thomas Reynolds approached them hesitantly. I need to talk to you, he said urgently. Privately. At a small restaurant several blocks away, Reynolds nervously stirred his coffee. Veronica is going down, he said, and she'll take me with her if I don't act first. What are you proposing? Michael asked coldly. I'll testify against her. Tell everything I know about the embezzlement, the doctor, all of it, in exchange for immunity. That's not our decision, Michael replied. That's for the district attorney. But you can put in a good word, Reynolds pleaded. I was just following orders. Veronica ran everything. Michael handed him a business card. Call this number. It's the district attorney handling the case. Tell them everything. That evening, Eleanor was released from the hospital. Lena brought her to the Sterling mansion to recover. The doctor says you need rest, Lena reminded her as she helped Eleanor settle into a guest room. What I need is to see justice done, Eleanor replied. Harold would be proud of how you're handling all this. Later, Lena met with the board members of the Sterling Foundation, Harold's charitable organization. Mr. Sterling was very specific about the foundation's mission, the board chairman explained. Supporting education and housing initiatives. I'd like to expand that mission, Lena said confidently, to focus more on single parents and educational opportunities in underserved Boston neighborhoods. The board members exchanged surprised looks. That's actually quite aligned with Harold's vision, one woman acknowledged. He believed in helping people help themselves. For the first time, Lena felt truly comfortable in her new role. These were changes she understood, helping people who needed support, just as she once had. After the meeting, Michael was waiting outside. How did it go? Really well, Lena smiled. They liked my ideas. I knew they would, Michael said. You understand what people need. He suggested dinner to celebrate their court victory. At a small Italian restaurant in the North End, they relaxed for the first time in weeks. To Harold, Michael raised his glass, for knowing exactly what he was doing. To Harold, Lena agreed. Over pasta, they talked about everything except the case, their childhoods, favorite books, places they'd visited. I never thanked you properly, Lena said suddenly, for believing in me, for fighting for us. I believe in what Harold saw in you, Michael replied, and I'm starting to see our daughters in a new light too. Maya has my stubbornness, Jasmine has my mother's creativity, and Zoe has your sense of justice, Lena finished. She questions everything. After dinner, they walked along Boston Harbor, the city lights reflected in the dark water. When Michael took her hand, Lena didn't pull away. We should talk about us, he said quietly, about what happens when this is all over. Is it ever going to be over? Lena wondered. The legal battle will end, Michael assured her. But us, that's just beginning, isn't it? He stopped walking and turned to face her. Gently, he leaned forward and kissed her. After a moment's hesitation, Lena kissed him back. When Lena returned to the mansion that night, she found Zoe in Harold's library, surrounded by books. What are you doing up so late? Lena asked. Zoe held up a worn copy of To Kill a Mockingbird. It has his notes in the margins, she explained. His thoughts about justice and standing up for what's right. She hesitated. I think I would have liked him. He would have loved you, Lena said, sitting beside her daughter. Zoe opened another book. He wrote me a note. Look, inside a collection of poetry was a handwritten card. For Zoe, a healer's heart sees truth where others see only symptoms. Your mother told me about your dream of becoming a nurse. I admire your path. Harold. When did he write this? Zoe asked, her voice trembling. I don't know, Lena admitted. He never showed it to me. As Lena prepared for bed, her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. This isn't over. Meet me at Mount Auburn Cemetery tomorrow at noon if you want to know what Harold was really hiding from everyone, including you. Lena stared at the text message for a long time. Mount Auburn Cemetery at noon. It had to be from Veronica, but why would she want to meet? And why at Harold's grave? When Lena showed Michael the message the next morning, he immediately objected. This is obviously a trap, he said. Veronica is desperate and angry. She could be planning anything. I need to know what she wants to tell me, Lena insisted. Harold kept so many secrets. What if there's more we don't know? Then let me come with you, Michael said. I'll stay out of sight. No, if she sees you, she won't talk. I'll be careful. Mount Auburn Cemetery was peaceful that day. Tall trees provided shade over the winding paths and marble headstones. Lena walked slowly toward Harold's section, staying alert for any sign of trouble. She spotted a figure standing beside Harold's grave. Veronica, wearing simple jeans and a sweater instead of her usual designer clothes. She looked different somehow, subdued. You came alone, Veronica said when Lena approached. Smart. What do you want, Veronica? Lena asked, keeping her distance. To talk. No lawyers, no witnesses. Veronica gestured to the grave. Just us and him. If this is another attempt to threaten me— It's not, Veronica interrupted. I'm done fighting. The district attorney has enough evidence to charge me with multiple felonies. Lena studied her face. Then what's this about? I wanted to tell you something about Harold, something even you don't know. Veronica took a deep breath. I've known for years that Harold wasn't my biological father. Lena tried to hide her surprise. How did you find out? Medical records. 8 years ago, I was hospitalized for appendicitis. They needed family medical history. The blood types didn't match. Veronica's voice cracked slightly. I confronted him. He admitted everything. He told us he never told you, Lena said. Veronica laughed bitterly. He kept secrets from everyone, including you. After I found out, things changed between us. I started taking money from the companies. It felt like compensation for the lie my life had been. That doesn't justify stealing millions of dollars, Veronica. I know, but in my mind I wasn't stealing. I was taking what should have been mine anyway. Veronica looked down at the grave. The funny thing is, Harold told me it didn't matter, that he always considered me his daughter. But it mattered to me. Before Lena could respond, 2 police officers approached from the cemetery entrance. "Veronica Sterling?" One called out. "We have a warrant for your arrest on charges of embezzlement, witness tampering, and conspiracy." Veronica nodded, as if she'd been expecting this. Thomas Reynolds worked fast. She reached into her pocket and handed Lena a small key. "Safety deposit box at Boston Federal Bank. Box number 327. There's one more piece of Harold's story you should know." The officers handcuffed Veronica and led her away. She turned back once. "He wasn't perfect, you know. You're Saint Harold." The next day, Michael accompanied Lena to Boston Federal Bank. The manager led them to a private room where they opened safety deposit box 327. Inside was a thick folder filled with documents. As they examined the papers, both Lena and Michael grew increasingly stunned. "These are records of anonymous donations," Michael said, "going back almost 30 years. Lena flipped through the pages. "Tuition payments for single mothers attending nursing school, medical bills for children with no insurance, down payments on homes for families in need." Harold was secretly supporting dozens of families across Boston, Michael realized. All these years. Lena stopped at a particular page. "Michael, look at this." It was a tuition receipt for Brookside Elementary School dated 15 years ago. The payment was for 3 students, Jasmine, Zoe, and Maya Johnson. "That's impossible," Lena whispered. "I paid their tuition myself. I worked extra shifts to afford that school." "Look at the actual payment record," Michael pointed. "Your checks covered only half the tuition. The rest came from an anonymous donor. Harold was supporting my daughters before I even met him." Lena shook her head in disbelief. "How did he even know about us back then?" Deeper in the folder, they found a private investigator's report dated 17 years ago. It contained details about Lena and her daughters, along with information about Michael. "He knew about all of us," Michael said softly. "Our meeting wasn't coincidence. None of it was. But why? Why would he insert himself into our lives this way?" "I think he was trying to fix something broken," Michael suggested. "He saw a family that should have been together but wasn't, and he had the resources to do something about it." That afternoon, Jasmine stood in an empty brick building in Roxbury talking excitedly to contractors. "I want mirrors along this wall," she explained, "and ballet bars here. The sound system needs to be top quality." The community center director watched in amazement. "When you said you wanted to create a studio here, I had no idea you meant something this professional." "Every kid deserves proper training," Jasmine replied. "Not just those who can pay for private lessons." She had already designed scholarship programs and community classes. The sign outside would read, "Sterling Arts Academy, where every child can dance." Meanwhile, Zoe sat nervously in a coffee shop, watching the door. When Michael entered, she almost changed her mind about staying. "Thank you for meeting me," Michael said, sitting across from her. "I'm not promising anything," Zoe warned. "I'm just curious." Michael nodded. "That's fair. What would you like to know about me?" "Why didn't you try to find Mom after you left?" Zoe asked directly. "I did, actually," Michael admitted. "About 6 months after I moved to New York. I called her aunt's house in Providence, but they said Lena had moved and they didn't have her new address. This was before cell phones and social media. People lost touch more easily then." "You could have tried harder," Zoe said. "You're right. Michael didn't make excuses. I should have. They talked for over an hour. The conversation was awkward but honest. When they parted, Zoe didn't hug Michael, but she did say, "Maybe we could do this again sometime." At the Sterling mansion, Maya opened an envelope from Harvard Law School with shaking hands. She had applied months ago before any of the inheritance drama began. "I got in," she announced when Lena came into the room. "Full acceptance for the fall semester." "Oh, Maya," Lena hugged her tightly. "I'm so proud of you." "I would have gone anyway," Maya said firmly, "even without the inheritance. I had scholarships lined up." "I know you did," Lena smiled, "but now you can focus completely on your studies instead of working part-time jobs." A week later, Lena sat in a courtroom for Veronica's sentencing hearing. The judge had allowed victim impact statements, and Lena had asked to speak. "Ms. Johnson," the judge said, "you were directly affected by Ms. Sterling's crimes. Please approach the podium." Veronica sat beside her attorney, expecting Lena to demand the maximum punishment. Instead, Lena surprised everyone. "Your Honor, while I was initially angry about Veronica's actions, I've had time to reflect on what Harold would want in this situation." Lena spoke clearly. Harold Sterling valued redemption above revenge. He believed people could change if given the chance. Veronica looked up, confused. "I'm asking the court for leniency," Lena continued. "Harold would want his daughter, because that's how he saw Veronica, regardless of biology, to have an opportunity to rebuild her life after serving her sentence." When the judge announced the sentence, 18 months in a minimum security facility plus full restitution, Veronica's face showed genuine surprise. As court officers prepared to take Veronica into custody, she asked for a moment to speak with Lena. "Why did you do that?" Veronica asked when they stood face to face. "After everything I did to you?" "Because it's what Harold would have wanted," Lena said simply. "And because holding on to anger helps no one." Veronica nodded slowly. "There's something else you should know," she whispered. "About the night my father died. It wasn't as peaceful as everyone thinks." Before she could continue, the officers approached to take her away. "I'll visit you," Lena said, surprising herself with the offer. "We can talk more then." That evening, Lena, Michael, and the triplets gathered for dinner at the Sterling mansion. Eleanor joined them, now recovered from her heart attack. "I have news," Lena announced. "I've decided to sell this house." "Really?" Jasmine asked. "But it's so beautiful." "It's too big, too formal," Lena explained. "But the Martha's Vineyard property, that feels more like a home. I thought we could renovate it, make it ours." "I like that idea," Maya agreed. "This place feels like a museum." "What about the foundation?" Michael asked. "We'll run it from a new office downtown," Lena said. "The Sterling Foundation is going to focus on supporting single parents and educational opportunities in underserved neighborhoods." "Harold would approve," Eleanor smiled. Later, after everyone else had gone to bed, Michael and Lena sat in the garden behind the mansion. "We found out so much about Harold," Lena said, "but I still feel like we've barely scratched the surface of who he really was." "He was a complicated man," Michael agreed, "but his heart was in the right place." Lena leaned her head against Michael's shoulder. "What happens with us now?" "We're still getting to know each other again. We take it slow," Michael said. "There's no rush. We have time." "Taking it slow sounds perfect," Lena said, squeezing Michael's hand. "We've all been through so much change already." 1 week later, Veronica requested a meeting at the Beacon Hill mansion before beginning her sentence at the minimum security facility in Connecticut. Lena and Michael waited in the living room when Veronica arrived, looking thinner and more subdued than before. "Thank you for agreeing to see me," Veronica said, sitting stiffly on the edge of a chair. "I wanted to clear the air before I go away." "What did you want to talk about?" Lena asked. Veronica looked down at her hands. "The night my father died. There's something I never told anyone." She took a deep breath. "I came to see him that night. I knew he had changed his will and I was angry. When I arrived, he was already on the floor. He'd had a heart attack. Lena gasped. "You found him?" "Yes," Veronica admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "And I didn't call for help right away." The room fell silent. "I stood there for several minutes, watching him struggle to breathe," Veronica continued, tears forming. "I was so angry at him. Part of me thought, if he dies now, the new will might not be finalized." "Veronica," Michael said in shock. "I did call 911 eventually," Veronica said quickly. "But those minutes I waited, they might have made the difference." The paramedics said he had just passed when they arrived. Lena felt sick. "Why are you telling us this now?" "Because I can't live with it anymore," Veronica said. "I didn't kill him, but I didn't help him either. And I need to face that before I go to prison." Lena walked to Harold's desk and retrieved his journal. "There's something you should see." She opened to one of the final entries and handed it to Veronica. Veronica read aloud. "Veronica discovered the embezzlement files today. I saw her in my office when she thought I was at my doctor's appointment. She knows I know, yet I still hope for reconciliation. Despite everything, she is my daughter in all the ways that matter. Blood is just biology. Love is a choice, and I've always chosen to love her." Tears streamed down Veronica's face. "He knew I was stealing, and he still loved me." "He knew everything," Lena said gently, "and he forgave you." "I didn't deserve his forgiveness," Veronica whispered. "None of us deserve forgiveness," Michael said. "That's what makes it so powerful when it's given anyway." Before leaving, Veronica looked around the mansion one last time. "Take good care of his legacy," she said to Lena. "You were the daughter he wished I had been." The next day, news broke that Thomas Reynolds had accepted a plea deal with the district attorney's office. In exchange for testimony against others involved in the embezzlement scheme, he avoided jail time but lost his real estate and business licenses. "Reynolds got off easy," Maya commented as they watched the news report. "He'll pay in other ways," Michael said. "His reputation in the business world is destroyed. No one will trust him again." With the legal battles winding down, Lena focused on understanding and restructuring the Sterling business holdings. She met with financial advisors in the downtown Boston office. "Mr. Sterling's portfolio is diverse," explained Barbara Chen, the lead financial advisor. "Real estate developments, investment funds, and several small businesses." "Which projects need immediate decisions?" Lena asked. "The Brookline development is at a critical stage," Barbara replied, showing Lena the plans. "Construction is halfway complete, but contractors need approval for the next phase." "What was Harold's vision for this project?" Lena asked. "Mixed-income housing with retail spaces on the ground floor," Barbara said. 20% of units reserved for low-income families." Lena nodded. "Then we continue exactly as Harold planned." After the meeting, Michael and Lena walked to a nearby office building where they were considering space for the Sterling Legacy Foundation. "What do you think?" the real estate agent asked, showing them a bright corner office with views of Boston Harbor. "It's perfect," Lena decided. "Open, accessible, not too fancy." Later that afternoon, they met with lawyers to draft the foundation's mission statement. The Sterling Legacy Foundation will focus on supporting single parents through educational scholarships, housing assistance, and childcare programs, Lena dictated, as Michael took notes. "We want to help people who are working hard but need extra support to achieve stability and independence." "Harold would be proud," Michael said. At the Beacon Hill mansion, a real estate agent walked through the rooms with potential buyers. "The home was built in 1875, the agent explained. 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, with original woodwork throughout." Lena watched from the kitchen, feeling strange about selling the house but confident in her decision. This formal mansion had never felt like home. The next weekend, Lena and her daughters visited the Martha's Vineyard property to plan renovations. The beachfront home was smaller than the Boston mansion but still spacious, with a wraparound porch and stunning ocean views. "The kitchen needs updating," Maya noted, opening outdated cabinets. "And this living room is too dark," Jasmine added. Zoe surprised everyone by saying, "I like it here. It feels peaceful." They spent the day measuring rooms and discussing changes, creating a home that would feel like theirs, not just another Sterling property they were occupying. Back in Boston, Jasmine hosted a grand opening for her performing arts studio in Roxbury. The once empty building now featured professional dance floors, mirrors, and state-of-the-art sound equipment. "The Sterling Arts Academy welcomes everyone," Jasmine announced to the gathered crowd of local families and reporters. "Our scholarship program ensures that talent, not money, determines who can train here." Across town, Zoe sat in the admissions office at Boston University, finalizing her enrollment in the nursing program. "Your tuition payment has been processed," the administrator confirmed. "Classes begin September 6th. "Thank you," Zoe said, still feeling strange about accepting financial help from her mother. But seeing Lena's pride when she had agreed made the decision easier. That same day, Maya toured Harvard Law School campus with Michael, who had graduated from there 20 years earlier. "The library is still my favorite place," Michael said as they walked through the massive reading room. "I spent more time here than in my apartment." "Did you always know you wanted to be a lawyer?" Maya asked. "Not until college," Michael replied. "I was pre-med first, then switched after taking a constitutional law class." Maya nodded thoughtfully. "I'm thinking about family law. After everything we've been through, I want to help other families navigate complicated situations." At the Sterling mansion, Eleanor shared photo albums with Jasmine and Zoe, showing Harold's early years. "This was Harold at 20, Eleanor said, pointing to a black and white photo of a handsome young man standing beside a vintage car. He had just started his first business, selling houses in working-class neighborhoods when other realtors wouldn't bother with them. "He was handsome," Jasmine remarked. "And stubborn," Eleanor added with a smile. "When banks wouldn't lend to certain families because of their race or neighborhood, Harold created his own lending program. He believed everyone deserved a chance to own a home." Meanwhile, Michael packed up his office at Dawson and Associates for the last time. The managing partner stood in the doorway watching. "You're making a mistake, Bennett," he said. "This firm was your future." "I'm not leaving law," Michael replied, placing framed degrees into a box. "I'm just practicing it differently now." "Running a charitable foundation isn't real legal work," the partner scoffed. Michael smiled. "It's exactly the work I want to do." That evening, Lena and Michael walked along Boston Harbor discussing their future. "The foundation office will be ready next month," Lena said. "The renovation plans for Martha's Vineyard are approved." "Everything is falling into place." "And us?" Michael asked. "How do we fit into all this?" "I think we're doing well," Lena replied. "Taking things slowly, getting to know each other again. The girls are adjusting in their own ways." "Jasmine has accepted me completely," Michael noted. "Maya is cautious but open, and Zoe is warming up," Lena assured him. "She asked about you yesterday. That's progress." They stopped walking and Michael turned to face her. "I never thought I'd have a family. After my divorce, I figured that part of life was over for me, and now I have 3 daughters and you." "Is it too much?" Lena asked. "It's unexpected," Michael said, "but it feels right." On Veronica's last day of freedom, she packed a small bag for the minimum security facility in Connecticut. Her apartment was emptier now. She had sold most of her designer clothes and jewelry to pay legal fees and start the restitution process. As she prepared to leave, she wrote a letter and placed it in a thick manila envelope with several old photographs and documents. On the envelope she wrote, "For Lena Johnson. If anything happens to me while I'm inside, this will tell you where to find the real truth about my mother and Harold, a story even he never fully knew." She sealed it carefully before calling a courier service for delivery. The courier delivered Veronica's sealed envelope to Lena the next morning. Inside, She found old photographs and letters, along with a handwritten note from Veronica. These belonged to my mother. I found them after she died. Harold never knew the full truth. 1 year later, the Sterling Legacy Foundation hosted its first annual benefit gala in downtown Boston. The ballroom of the Fairmont Hotel glowed with soft lighting as Boston's business and community leaders mingled with foundation recipients. Lena stood at the podium, no longer the nervous caregiver, but a confident leader in an elegant blue dress. 1 year ago today, we lost Harold Sterling, Lena began, her voice clear and strong. Many of you knew him as a businessman, others as a philanthropist. I knew him as a man who saw potential in people when they couldn't see it themselves. The crowd listened attentively as she continued. In our first year, the Sterling Legacy Foundation has provided educational scholarships to 27 single parents. We've helped 15 families with housing assistance, and our new child care initiative will serve more than 100 families next year. After her speech, Michael approached with 2 glasses of sparkling water. That was perfect, he said, handing her a glass. Harold would be proud. Eleanor joined them, elegant in a silver dress. Indeed he would. You've taken his vision and made it even better, Lena. Across the room, Maya chatted with her constitutional law professor from Harvard. At 22 years old, she carried herself with new confidence after completing her first semester with honors. Ms. Johnson shows remarkable insight into how the law affects families, the professor told Michael when he approached. She'll make an excellent family attorney someday. Later that week, the expanded family gathered for dinner at their renovated Martha's Vineyard home. The once formal beach house now felt warm and lived in, with comfortable furniture and family photos on the walls. "Pass the potatoes, please," Jasmine said as they sat around the large dining table. At the head of the table, Eleanor shared stories about Harold's younger days. "He once tried to build a boat in our backyard," she laughed. "It sank the minute he put it in the water." "I can't imagine Harold failing at anything," Zoe said, surprising everyone with her comment. She had become more accepting of Harold's legacy in recent months. "Oh, he failed plenty," Eleanor assured her. "He just didn't let failure stop him." After dinner, Lena prepared for her monthly visit to the Connecticut facility where Veronica was serving her sentence. The next morning, she drove 2 hours to the minimum security prison. The visiting area was a simple room with tables and chairs. Veronica entered wearing a standard-issue uniform, her hair pulled back simply. 4 months into her sentence, she looked healthier than before. "You look well," Lena observed as they sat across from each other. "Mandatory exercise and regular meals," Veronica replied with a slight smile. "And therapy 3 times a week. Turns out I needed it." "How's the memoir coming?" Lena asked. Veronica had begun writing about her experiences growing up in wealth and privilege and the pressures that came with it. "My editor says it's too honest," Veronica said, "which probably means it's good. I'm calling it Fool's Gold, Growing Up Sterling." "Did you ever read the letters?" Veronica asked after a pause. "The ones I sent you before coming here?" Lena nodded. "Yes, they were illuminating." The letters had revealed that Harold had known from the beginning that Veronica wasn't his biological child. He had loved Margaret when they met, and when she told him she was pregnant by another man, he married her anyway and agreed to raise the child as his own. "All those years," Veronica said quietly, "I thought he didn't know. I thought that's why he was always distant. But he knew from the start and chose me anyway." "That's who Harold was," Lena replied. "He believed family was about choices, not blood." "It makes what I did even worse," Veronica admitted. "He forgave you," Lena reminded her, "and he loved you until the end." Back in Boston, Jasmine led a group of young dancers through their routine at Sterling Arts Academy. The studio had already become a neighborhood fixture in Roxbury, with classes full of children who previously had no access to arts education. "Point your toes, Destiny," Jasmine called to a 10-year-old girl. "That's better." After class, she met with her administrative assistant. "The spring performance tickets are already half sold out," the assistant reported, "and we received another $10,000 in donations this week." "Put it all toward the scholarship fund," Jasmine directed. "I want to add 5 more full scholarships next semester." At Boston University Medical Center, Zoe moved confidently through the hospital corridors during her clinical rotation. She had excelled in her nursing program, already specializing in cardiac care. "Johnson, room 3 needs vitals," the head nurse called. "On it," Zoe replied. Later, during her break, she texted Michael to confirm their dinner plans for the following week. Their relationship had slowly evolved from awkward meetings to genuine father-daughter conversations. At Harvard Law School, Maya sat in the library surrounded by casebooks. A classmate approached her table. "How are you understanding this stuff so quickly?" he asked, frustrated. Maya smiled. "I had a good teacher. My father's been walking me through the fundamentals of contract law." "Your father's a lawyer?" "Yes," Maya replied, realizing how natural it felt now to call Michael her father. "He is." At the downtown offices of the Sterling Legacy Foundation, Michael reviewed applications for their new small business grant program. "This woman's story reminds me of Lena's," he told his assistant. "Single mother of 2, trying to start a home healthcare business. Put her application in the yes pile." His office phone rang. It was Thomas Reynolds. "Bennett, I was hoping we could meet," Reynolds said. "I've been thinking about ways I could help the foundation." "I appreciate the offer, Thomas," Michael replied coolly, "but I think it's better if we keep our distance." After the Sterling scandal, Reynolds had found work at a small real estate office. His testimony had helped convict several of Veronica's accomplices, but his own reputation remained tarnished. Mrs. Patterson, who had initially been so cold to Lena, visited the Martha's Vineyard home with a box of Harold's personal items she had kept. "I thought you might want these," she told Lena. "Photo albums, mostly. Some from when he was young." "Thank you," Lena said, genuinely touched. "Would you like to stay for tea?" The housekeeper hesitated, then nodded. "I'd like that." As they looked through photos together, Mrs. Patterson gradually opened up about her decades with the Sterling family. "He changed after you came," she admitted to Lena. "He smiled more, told more jokes. You brought light back into his life." One sunny afternoon, Michael received important documents from his lawyer. "It's official," he told Lena, holding the papers. "The adoption papers are approved." Though the triplets were adults, Michael had wanted to legally adopt them, making their relationship official in every way. "The girls will be so touched," Lena said, hugging him. Their relationship had deepened over the year, developing into a solid partnership. They had decided against rushing into marriage, preferring to build their relationship carefully. "Do you regret not knowing them when they were growing up?" Lena asked. "Every day," Michael admitted. "But I'm grateful for who they've become, and that's because of you." On the 1-year anniversary of Harold's death, the entire family gathered at Mount Auburn Cemetery. Lena, Michael, the triplets, and Eleanor stood together at the grave, which was marked by a simple but elegant headstone. "It's hard to believe it's been a year," Eleanor said, placing flowers on the grave. "So much has changed," Maya agreed. Michael unfolded a paper from his pocket, Harold's final message from his video recording. "I thought we should hear his words again today," Michael explained. He began reading. "Legacy isn't what you leave behind in bank accounts or buildings. It's what you build in the hearts of those who carry your memory forward." As they stood together, Lena noticed an elderly man watching them from a distance. When their eyes met, he gave a knowing nod before turning and walking away. "Who was that?" Jasmine asked. "I don't know," Lena replied, curious. "But I have a feeling Harold's story isn't completely finished yet." They walked together through the cemetery toward their cars, a family created not by conventional means but through Harold's vision and their own choices. The Sterling legacy continued through each of them, not in wealth or property, but in the lives they touched and the good they did. "I think Harold knew exactly what he was doing," Lena said as they left. "He saw what we could become together before we could see it ourselves." Eleanor smiled. "My brother always played the long game. He just made sure he won his final round." If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.